It is what? I think it's like now the 104th episode. And I have a special guest, Wayne of Wayne's World and Kelly, on the show. He's sporting his fancy Maui, what do you call it? Maui what?
Maui gyms.
Maui Jims, not James, but at the price they should call him Maui James. But we decided to be our own guest today. So hopefully people are already tuning out. Look, I can see the numbers just dropping. But there's no counter. And we're not live. But I mean, we have been back to back to back to back to back to back guests, and they've been fantastic. But sometimes it's good to catch up. I know that both of us have been so busy this summer, which is supposed to be the slow season for me. For you, it's busy when a hurricane hits. But you know, Florida is open for business, and because of all the new laws that we've talked about for the last couple of weeks, there's a lot of activities happening as far as people getting their buildings right. But my goodness, it's just boom, 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 boom. You're not as old as I am, as you like to point out a lot. Time starts moving quicker as you get older. It really, it's tomorrow is August 1st. It seems like I just, put away my I probably just put away something that I use for the winter, like my light jacket or my pullover. So I just put them away for the long summer that we have here in South Florida, and it's August, so time's flying. We've been super busy. I know you've been super busy, but I just wanted to catch up and talk about, kind of reflect. I mean, 104 episodes. That's 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem, it seems like just yesterday I was driving back from Orlando and I did your audio podcast. And as soon as we got off the phone, you called me up and you said, "Hey, dude, we got to start it. We got to do our own podcast. We got to do this." And that's where it all kind of started. But that seems like yesterday, and that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's your comment about time. Like, so right now I'm in Minnesota. We had hail here, major storm, same in Chicago earlier in the year, a couple months ago. So I've been on a plane half the month, which is, that's what my life was. But like, I just want to say, I think it was 2 weeks ago now when that CrowdStrike computer malfunction completely laid waste to a lot of parts in the economy, including obviously the travel industry. I was in Houston on hurricane barrel inspections, and I got my inspections done one day early, and I actually flew out on, supposed to fly out on that Friday. I flew out on Thursday, and some of my team members got stuck and were in the airport for like 2 days. So I was very fortunate to get out, but man, I'm telling you what, I have never seen such a shit show in my life. And I've done a ton of travel, and it was so bad.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, it crippled a major part of our economy, banks, airlines, just so many were affected.
and I'm not a conspiracy guy, and most people that know me would probably agree that I'm not. But my eyes are more open about a lot of things. And
Like what?
I wonder, was that a test or was that a malfunction? I mean, it really was shocking. So a little story, I think we touched on it for a second, and I want to do it not to pat myself on the back, but to talk about Tinkerbell, who's one of our favorite guests ever, who's a Holocaust survivor and the founder of Victims of Crime, which is now called Tinkerbell's Kids, which helps kids whose parents are in prison, and an amazing organization. Her and Nushelle Hastings, who she volunteers for that and does Women Empowering Women, and she's our official permanent co-host when one of us can't make it, and has her own business. And I mean, she's just an amazing woman. I get a phone call from them Friday afternoon when, as you called it, the shit show was going on, and computers are down, airports are down. They said, "We're stranded. We have to be in South Carolina for our annual event. Can you give us a ride?" And I said, "Sure." They go, "Are we in South Carolina?" I said, "Okay." So they took the Bright Line up to West Palm Beach. I scooped him, picked him up, and I wish we could have videotaped the recording of our conversations. At one point, Michelle's in the back seat and Tinkerbell and I are talking. And the other time, they were swapped. And Tinkerbell, she's so tiny, she's so cute, sitting, sleep in the back of my Tundra. And I mean, she's just tiny. 79-year-old, energetic, amazing woman. But we had these amazing conversations back and forth that were just priceless. Well, actually, I'm just going up because I came back by myself. I left him up there. And I got to meet Tinkerbell's husband. I was actually, I think I was at an event with him once, but I was dressed up as Santa Claus, so I really wasn't in a position to chat with him. But got to spend a couple hours with him. I love meeting amazing people, and that's what's kind of the cool thing about us doing this podcast is the amazing people we meet. But to spend that much time with those two wonderful women, and then with Tinkerbell's husband, Neil, who's just, they're all business success, and he's the one that feeds. I think he feeds like, I don't know, 275,000 meals a month in Chicago at homeless shelters. He was in the construction company, built some Walmarts. He did, I think he said 8 Walmarts. And then he goes, I switched over and I had invested into a food industry. And next thing you know, I took over the business, and he was doing a food business across the country. But, as opposed to a lot of people who let me just keep all my money, he set up this charity to feed all these people. I mean, it's amazing, so I get to hang out with the guy. It's, and they were thankful to me for driving them. I said, all I was an unpaid Uber driver. But what I got out of riding with them was priceless. I'm like, to spend time with these amazing people is just such a gift. And so that was pretty cool. But I really made me, especially on the drive back, it's 12 hours back, you have a lot of time to think. And it's like, what was that all about? I mean, how can we be that vulnerable that something like that can happen? And
well, yeah, I mean, what's your takeaway on that? I mean, you're kind of floating the conspiracy stuff out there, which is fine, but tell me what you think a little more about it, right? Because I got an opinion on it, like we all have opinions, but go ahead. I mean, what do you get at?
I think there's a lot of bad people, a lot of bad actors out there in and out of our country that want to do things to impact people in a very strong way. COVID was one of them.
Okay.
COVID came out of a lab. It was not from a monkey at the wet market, which I think a lot of us didn't believe it from the beginning. And now
the World Health Organization has come down and said that it came out of a lab. I mean, I don't know.
That's the only thing that makes me skeptical is anything who said.
Touche. I'll give you. Yeah. I mean, yeah, right.
I mean, they're all bad actors. They're come get me. Come get me. I think all these people have these agendas. I was listening on the news, traveling at some point in the last few days, and they were talking about how the country spent, I don't know, $8 billion, don't quote me on it, on providing like 100 electric buses in school systems around the country. $8 billion for 100 buses. I mean, it's and then, because they had to put in charging stations. And then they're like, the school systems are afraid to use that bus if they have to go somewhere because they don't know if they can charge this bus up. And there's so many things they try to make it's supposed to be good for us, and it isn't. What it takes for these batteries, the lithium and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get all started on some kind of crazy kick about stuff, but I just think that it's important to look down through the layers of everything and try to determine what somebody's motivation is. And unfortunately, sometimes it has to do with money and power.
Right. So, I mean, kind of getting back to what we were talking about as far as like CrowdStrike and what happened. One of my hobbies has always been the study of the JFK assassination. So I was fascinated by that conspiracy from day one, which as far as in my lifetime was what I'm going to call the original conspiracy theory. So I've never met a good conspiracy theory that I didn't like. But with CrowdStrike, what I think really is that, you had a company, it was started in 2011, and they were able to figure out a better way to get involved with cybersecurity. So they started getting a lot of big contracts with these companies, and one of them was Microsoft. Okay, which we all know that, you know, Apple's you know, iOS is very private, very proprietary, so you can't get in there. Microsoft, different story. So what I think happened in that outage was you really had a company, small company, but their net worth prior to their stock meltdown when this happened, you know, was billions and billions and billions of dollars. Okay. So I do think it's possible for one company that provides one patch, one thing that has to do with security, to literally take down a lot of infrastructure. But that's, again, that's my opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right, but
I'm saying I don't know
I don't,
if it's just pathetic error, or they were testing to see how much they could affect the country and the world by doing a glitch.
well, I think, yeah. And if that's true, the truth, and if somebody out there, you know, some nefarious state actors in some country in the world, or if they're here, they did succeed in creating a shit show. There's no doubt about that. So if that's what they were looking for to see what our reaction was, they got it.
Yeah. No, I figured out another way, as did Tinkerbell and Michelle, but it was madness, absolutely madness. And to hear them talk about it, they were right at Miami Airport. So they were, you know, they met a lot of people. Tinkerbell was actually interviewed on Telemundo and one of the local affiliates. Yeah, she's pretty well known, I guess that's probably why and she's just adorable. But she went to Telemundo. She speaks all these different languages, so they were able to speak to her in Spanish on Telemundo. But you know, so they were witnessing it firsthand. They were telling me how insane it was. And I hear you're telling me all these years of travel you've done, it was the worst day of travel. You know,
Oh God.
You know, it's just but it's we're so dependent on so much. So let's bring it back to condominiums. And so I've got a lot of, you know, I'm hearing everything. You know, people that know what industry I'm in will sit there and go, "Oh, did you see where they're shutting down a building in Aventura?" And you know, because of safety, and like, you know, they're kicking these people out of their building. Like, that's the right thing to do. If your building's unsafe, get out. I don't want another 98 people perishing. And you know, people are still, you know, now people going, "Why nobody wants to be on the board because they're liable." And I get it. And they're saying, well, you know, the governor's overreaching. I'm like, no, I think the governor's taking a good stance on what needs to happen. You know, Eric Glazer was fantastic last week talking about, you know, how he got involved, because once somebody's gone. So I Facebooked this morning. I know you were a non-Facebook guy. Dr. Philip Rhodes, the guy I grew up with, his family was, they were neighbors of ours, and Dr. Rhodes and his wife, beautiful couple, Becky was like the prettiest girl in Virginia, and then four sons, and they're all handsome, all great athletes, all great students, funny as heck, would do anything for anybody. You just wanted to hate them, but you couldn't. I mean, I mean, they really were a great family. They are a great family, and just a really special family. And Philip, 62, he's a year older than me. I saw that he passed away. He had some neurological disease, and it's a shame. The guy was a great golfer. I thought he was going to make the tour, and he would have been incredible for the tour because he has so much personality. The whole family had this smile that it was like Burt Reynolds. You know, Burt Reynolds would kind of give you that look. They all had it, and just a special family. And you're like, wow, you know, he's a year older than me. He's gone. You know, life is short, and you know, I want people to embrace life. And so when I'm talking to Tinkerbell, one of the things she wants to do is she wants to step down as active executive director of Tinkerbell's Kids, because she wants to lobby for kids in Washington and in Tallahassee to help protect kids when their parents go to jail. you know, their lives are so impacted. And she's been doing her part in 2 different areas of the country, but she wants to make sure there's laws to help protect those kids, you know, on a national level. She's 79 years old. That's what's in her heart. It's not, oh, gee, you know, let me do this or that. She you know, I just love seeing that there are people like that. So crazy things are going on in the world, but thank God there's wonderful people like that that want to continue to have a positive impact. And it makes me have faith, because sometimes you go, wow, you know, what's this all about?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm on day number 7 of a complete news detox. I've never felt better. I've done this before, and when I've deviated from it, you know, I immediately regret it. So one of the things, you know, your comment about, you know, the whole world, you know, is our country's being torn apart by this, that, or the other thing. So I don't know if I've ever said this on the air before, but I said it to you, is I strongly believe in that you know, the red ants and the black ants in a jar. You put them together in a jar. If you haven't heard this before, a lot of people have, but if you haven't heard it before, here it is, and listen up. You put red ants and black ants in a jar, all right, and they peacefully coexist. The jar gets shaken up. They start killing each other. What's the question that you need to ask? Who's shaking the jar?
Right.
I travel around this country. I'm with everybody, all different ethnicities, all different, just everything. And everybody's getting along. So I'm constantly fascinated by, you know, all of this news that comes into our feed. I know we can control it. I've taken drastic measures because I don't have a very good way of controlling it. So in kind of my personality, I'm all or nothing. Well, right now I'm nothing, and I've never felt better. But the message is, everybody, is that don't believe everything that you're hearing. I understand there's big issues that certain elements in the country on both ends of the political spectrum are using this to tear us apart. Don't believe it. Do not believe it. Okay. I'm just saying, we all run across people every day, and we just get along. Right. So it's just like, you just shake your head, and it's like, man, who's pumping this crap into us? And don't believe it. I get the issues aren't going away, but for God's sakes, man, I think we can resolve it. And I think they need to give us a little more credit than what, you know, we seem to believe, that we're like at each other's throats every day, and we're not.
Well, it's an excellent point. I love that. The media is shaking the jar, and whoever controls the media. Here's an
Hell
example.
Yeah, they are, dude.
Back in the, golly, it's amazing. I'm so old, I don't remember dates very well. Sometime, I want to say it was 1989, but I could be wrong. It could have been farther back than that. Prince William County, Virginia, where I'm from, signed a deal with Disney to open up a historical theme park. Because,
dude, I remember that. I totally remember that.
So being the entrepreneur I am, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to start I'm going to sell T-shirts outside their property. And I can make a fortune in T-shirts. You know, I love, writing, little themes, little sayings and stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna do that. So everything's great. We had the governor, George Allen's, who was Coach Allen's son. That was the coach of the Washington Redskins back in the 70s when they were great. So George Allen was a governor, he was a congressman, he was a senator, but he was governor. He comes and does the ribbon cutting. I go to the ribbon cutting because I'm thinking I want to learn as much as I can and figure out how to monetize this great news that they're going to take over all this land and make a theme park. And, kids are going to have jobs in the summer and, a place to take our future kids, and it's going to be great, So I see these people being interviewed, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people all cheering this great news that we're going to have this theme park coming. And they're also, because of the theme park revenue, it's going to pay for roads and schools, and it's going to help us, but not impact us on our local system, because when you bring in up thousands of houses, you have all that infrastructure. When you bring in something commercial, they got to pay for it all. and it brings revenue to the area. So there was a little worry about the traffic, but anyway, that's just something I embrace traffic because I've been around all my life. So there's a camera crew there, and there's like 8 people with, protesting with signs, and they're saying, no, don't ruin the battlefield, and, just all these hateful, bad things. Well, they're interviewing them. You got hundreds and hundreds of people all excited about this coming, and you've got 8 people. So they finish interviewing them. I follow them to where their cars were parked, and it was a barn over in Sudley for people that are, from Manassas. And then over at the Ambrose's house was right near there where people had parked. And so I went over and followed them, and they got in 2 cars with Maryland license plates. It was all staged. What was on the news that night? So then something happened. I heard rumors that a very powerful family from Fauquier County rhymed with Yellen and may have owned a big bank. And the governor, and she said, listen, you'll never become president if you don't just get rid of this park. That's the rumor. I don't know if it's true, but all I do know is a little bit later, deal's off.
Yep, I remember that, dude.
Fast forward, they build thousands and thousands of houses, which I love the people who live over there, Dominion Valley and Piedmont, which 2 of the big neighborhoods they built over there. And they had to build schools every 3 months and sewer and all, and it just, the impact would have been much better if we didn't have that. All those houses. Well, but the media controlled that.
Okay. And again, I mean, I think everybody in the country, there's few things we can agree on, but yeah, I mean, the media does control the message and the narrative, but there's never been a better time for whatever political side that you are on to find something that appeals to you. So there's a lot more choices now than there was, throughout the last 50, 60 years, prior to the great equalizer, which was the internet. But here's an interesting thing I thought of when you were talking about Disney and how politics are so fluid. So DeSantis in Florida took that stance against Disney, didn't like where the way things were going, and was going to take away a lot of the privileges, the tax-free privileges they had in that township. All right. And of course, that was national news for quite a while. But did you know that Disney and DeSantis recently, they kissed and made up, and now Disney with the support of DeSantis is looking at a big expansion. So we can't always obviously believe everything that we hear, read, and see and think it's going to be like that for a long time, because clearly DeSantis has changed his position, and I'm sure to some degree Disney has too. So is this an example of folks coming together and overcoming their differences, and economically we're all going to benefit from a Disney expansion? It looks like that to me. What do you say?
Stay tuned. That's new. That's news to me.
Yeah.
And I question everything. I don't care which side of the aisle they're on. I don't. Reagan said trust and verify.
Well, right.
I'm a Christian conservative free enterprise person, and I've seen too many politicians line their pockets.
Well, yeah, I mean, my dad always said to me, he said, Wayne, no matter what side that they're on, no one's coming to save you. He told me that at an early age. But the point I'm trying to make here is that you can take government entities, corporate entities, you can take people that ideologically, for whatever reason, you don't line up with, but you can then come together. See, that's the part where I want to focus on this particular piece of what we're talking about. More in common than not. That's the part that it's possible, being with the example that I just gave you, with what was going on, and they managed to patch up their differences, and now they're looking at an expansion, and that's happened. That's in our state, dude.
Okay. So, this is news to me, so I need to see what the outcome is and see and see if it was a win-win for everybody. If it's a win-win for everybody and they did come together and things are good, I'm ecstatic about that. I have a goal to go to Orlando sometime soon because I want to go to Uno's Pizzeria. But which is totally has nothing to do with this. But I mean, I question everything. So what was DeSantis's motive? I don't know. Just because he and I are in the same belief system doesn't mean I trust everyone of that.
Dude,
system.
what's everybody's motive that's in power? What is it?
Well, dude, I think some of it's greed, some of it's power, and
Yeah.
some of it's people really want to do what's good.
They
You know,
do.
Elon Musk,
I know.
who's the guy who's stopping them from shaking the ants. He went out and he purchased, now they call it X, which is we used to be called Twitter. I think that I like the guy. I think he's full of common sense, and I think he was a big game changer because he has taken the media's power a little bit away from them. They're still very powerful, but now he's not letting the message get distorted as well as people used to, because the people that own the media own the messaging. Right?
I just read Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson, and that Walter Isaacson has written the two best books I've ever read. One was Steve Jobs, and then the most recent one was Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk, which we all know, everybody's got an opinion about him. I would welcome everybody and encourage everybody to read the book and see it'll tell you what that guy has been through. Try and put the politics aside for a minute if you can, and look at what he has done. And after you read that book, if anybody other than me still reads, I think you'll at least have your takeaway will be the respect that should be given to him with everything he's contributed worldwide. And the path that he took to get there it's incredible. Amazing read. So yeah, Elon Musk, love the guy.
Yeah, I become more and more impressed with him. The more I learn about him, the more that he speaks. But it's all about common sense. He's a very simple person who's obviously a very deep thinker and is a genius. And they say that I've read interviews about him where, the level of his intelligence is just mind blowing. He's like, he's the Thomas Edison of our time.
Oh, there's no question. And his self-sacrifice when he went through really, really bad times of literally, I'm going to take that couch over there, stuff like that, like we were doing in college, the dude was doing when he was in his 20s and his 30s and sometimes into his 40s, so close from losing it all so many times, but yet going all in time after time after time because of what he believed in and how he wants to literally, his mission is to help save the world. That's why he wants to colonize other planets. People are laughing at him. Go ahead, keep laughing at him. Go ahead. But what?
I do laugh at him about that because I don't even like leaving South Florida, much less leaving.
But dude, yeah, but just the fact that this guy has got mission and purpose, whether or not he gets there or not will be determined. But when the dude wakes up every morning for a reason that's far greater than his own selfish interests, to me, is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, and he's definitely. Some people try to hate the billionaires.
It's jealous. It's jealousy.
And it's just jealousy and pettiness and stupidity.
Yeah.
Because a broke person isn't employing anybody. A billionaire is employing so many people. Like there's, Jobs, apparently he's got several kids by several women. Everybody has,
Steve Jobs does not have several kids by several women. That is not true, dude. Do not. No.
I'll correct myself next week if I'm wrong, but I could have sworn it. Not Steve Jobs, Elon Musk.
Yes, he does. Elon Musk does not.
I'm sorry. No, Steve Jobs is a whole nother. I mean, what he did is incredible, and I'm obviously a user of his products, but I'm also disgusted with a lot of things they do. I don't know who's controlling it, but when I'm texting things, it tries to throw words out that I don't want, and the words I'm trying to get to, it doesn't get to it until I fully write it. That predictive writing. That stuff freaks me out. I don't like it.
All right, tinfoil hat.
And I also don't like, like with Google searches where they're blocking things, they're deleting things.
Well, that's what China does, man. That's
yeah,
scary.
it's not cool. They just had a guy assassinated or kidnapped yesterday that was running against the guy down in Venezuela, and the guy in Venezuela miraculously won the vote. All these things it's like I never really enjoyed Batman the movies. I thought they were a little bit too dark for me, but they were actually reading into the future what a lot of the craziness that was going to go on in this world. That's why I don't believe in evolution, because I don't see people evolving. I'm a big Jesus freak, but he's the creator regardless. But for a world that's supposed to be evolving, we're not doing so well.
No, we're kind of stuck right now.
A little backwards.
I want to get through what we need to get through in November, and just hope that we're still in one piece, brother.
And then we'll shut off. But we normally don't talk politics or any of that stuff. But what I'm watching now is amazing, and you've been tuned out for 7 days.
Yep. I don't even want to know. Are you going to tell us?
JD Vance is who Trump has chosen as his running mate. I watched on Netflix Hillbilly. It's not eulogy. It's another word for eulogy. It's a word for a poem about somebody died, and it's basically a book about his life, but his wonderful grandmother. And the story is incredible. It's a book and turned it into a movie. Glenn Close played the grandmother, Meemaw, and wow, just he went to Afghanistan as a soldier, not as an officer. Came back, finished Ohio State in 2 years, go Michigan, and then he went to Yale and got his law degree. And then he went back to the Midwest and built businesses. Came a senator. Now he's running for a vice president, right? Or he's on the ticket. So when I see someone's life like that, I'm like, oh man, I'm worthless. I am not fit, because this guy in his young life has done so many great things, and he grew up in poverty. I mean, alcoholics. His mom was a drug addict. She's been sober now for 10 years. Her anniversary is coming up in January, and and just all this really real life stuff. Well, they're sitting there. The media and the ugly people of the world are now saying he's weird. That's their word. And they all saying it. And they're bad mouthing the guy. And it's so disrespectful. The guy, I don't care if you don't believe in what he believes and how he wants to take the country. But the guy's, he is the epitome of not using government, but using his life to better himself and better the people around him.
Well, if anybody calls him weird, or anybody calls you weird or me weird, number one, I take that as a compliment. Number two,
they call me that. It's accurate.
Well, I don't know why it would bother anybody. I mean, that's my point. Is like, are you bringing this up to think like, are you shocked that if somebody is calling somebody weird, with all the shrapnel flying around, I can think of a lot worse words that they would be calling him. I mean, I don't think that JD Vance is too bothered and perturbed that someone's calling him weird.
Right. I think I heard that they were going to actually make shirts and use it against, and flip it back on them.
Whatever, dude. I mean,
but the big point of it is that, don't like is there's that Republican down in Texas that's a congressman that wears a patch on his eye because he lost his eye in battle. I honor his service and I think he's incredible. I don't like his politics. He's bizarre. He really isn't my cup of tea. I guess he's weird, but they did an organized attack in like 24 hours. CNN used like 200 people used the word weird to go after him. I mean, nothing's natural. It's all structured. It's like reality TV is not real, and neither is a lot of this stuff. But the fortunate thing is it's backfiring. But I think for anybody to be disrespectful. You can disagree with stuff without being a jerk or being obnoxious. And definitely the way they organize and try to do these attacks on people. And I hope everybody sees the movie about this guy. He's an amazing human being. And I think we're fortunate that he's willing to take would you get in politics? There's not a
No.
freaking second where I would ever run for dog catcher because of
No,
how
I
ugly
got
people are.
no interest in it. No.
Yeah. It's really designed to make good people not get involved because they attack you and lie about you. There was this wonderful guy who grew up in the Middle East and in Muslim country, but he was a Christian, and he was saved when he was a teenager by American soldiers. And he came to the U.S. and he ran for state delegate somewhere in Northern Virginia, and he served a couple terms. And people that were friends of mine were attacking this guy, saying he was a plant and trying to, you know, ruin the country and ruin the state and all this stuff. The guy was, and he was a businessman, came with nothing to the United States, always had an incredible amount of honor and respect for the military because they literally saved his family and his life. And he's like, I want to give back. And he was real. But unfortunately, he served two-year terms. And then he said, okay, I did what I could do. Now I'm getting out, letting somebody else do it. But I think part of it was he was sick of getting shot, not, you know, verbally assaulted and people writing about him all the time, and all these ugly things. And it's a shame because he really, we have Cubans and that live in South Florida, a lot of them. And to hear them talk about what it was like, especially, you know, the older ones, and saying, you know, you want to see how bad a life can be, you know, go 90 miles south, move there.
Yeah.
You know, people risk their lives to live here. And I want America to continue to be the greatest country in the world. And sometimes when I see the media get involved, it just infuriates me. So,
amen, brother. That's a good part to where we can wrap it up. If you feel like doing what I did, I highly recommend a news detox. It'll literally clean your mind up quick.
I think it's very smart and very valuable, but I also don't like to miss things. So,
all right,
FOMO. But hey, to Philip Rhodes' family, our heart goes out to you. He was a great guy, amazing guy, and everybody else, just live your best life. And we can't wait to see you all next week. See you, brother.
Take care, brother. Bye.